Imagine it's, I don't know, like 11 at night on Friday.
Oh, the worst time.
Right. And a critical legacy server crashes. It takes your company's entire main product offline,
Literally.
naturally. And the only engineer who actually knows the weird, unwritten quirks of that specific system, the one person who could probably fix it in 10 minutes, just quit yesterday.
Oh, man.
Yeah. And the kicker is they didn't quit for a better salary.
Right. They quit because they felt completely invisible.
Exactly. Invisible and ignored during, the last 6 months of endless remote meetings.
Yeah.
So today, we're looking at how that exact, painfully common scenario is quietly bleeding the United States economy of over, get this, $630 billion a year.
It is a massive number.
It's huge, and it's a drain that we are putting under the microscope in today's deep dive. We have gathered a pretty dense stack of research for this.
We have.
We're centering on a brilliant piece by Dr. Jonathan H. Westover on what he calls the retention paradox.
Right, alongside that really landmark 2026 PANDA study on knowledge workers.
Yeah, that study is wild. So the mission for anyone listening today, whether you manage a huge department or you're just, trying to navigate your own career, it's to understand why having the best digital infrastructure in human history just isn't enough to keep your best people from walking out the door.
It truly is a paradox. I mean, you look at places like India's booming IT sector, which the data highlights as facing a literal talent churn crisis.
The crisis, yeah.
Yeah, attrition rates there are regularly blowing past 20%.
20%.
Yeah. And the National Association of Software and Service Companies, they estimate that if the Indian IT industry could drop its attrition rate by just 5%.
Just 5?
Just 5%, they would save $1.8 billion annually.
Wow.
I mean, companies are throwing money at advanced, frictionless communication tools,
Oh, yeah.
seamless video calls, instant messaging, cloud collaboration software.
Okay, let's unpack this.
Yeah.
Because it feels so incredibly counterintuitive.
It does.
Right? Like, we have never been more technologically connected.
Yeah.
Ever.
Right.
If it's literally never been easier to collaborate,
Yeah.
why are people leaving at these unprecedented rates?
Well, to understand the root of the problem, we have to fundamentally redefine what a modern knowledge-sharing network actually is.
Okay.
Historically, an organizational chart dictated how information moved.
Right.
You reported to your boss, they report to theirs.
It was a very top-down kind of thing.
Exactly. It was rigid and predictable. But today, the research shows that knowledge networks are multiplex. They are highly permeable, and they are dynamic.
Wait, multiplex, like a movie theater?
Well, more like overlapping layers of relationships. So you aren't just the IT person to a colleague.
Right.
You are the IT person plus the fellow mentor for new hires plus the person they chat with about, weekend hiking trips.
Oh, I see.
The relationships exist on multiple planes at once.
Yeah.
And these networks are permeable, meaning information flows freely across departments and even outside the company.
Right.
But here is the most critical characteristic that companies forget. Participation in these modern networks is entirely voluntary.
Oh, I see where you're going with this. You can force someone to sit in a mandatory Zoom meeting, but you cannot force them to share their most brilliant idea.
That is the crux of it. Exactly. You cannot mandate that an employee proactively reach out to mentor a struggling junior colleague.
Right.
You can't force them to offer up a creative solution they just, thought of while walking the dog.
Yeah, totally.
The organization provides the software, the structural pipes, but they're completely failing to retain the actual human beings who hold the knowledge that flows through those pipes.
So we are building the most expensive, shiny plumbing in the world, but the water is evaporating.
That's a great way to put it.
Which brings us to the actual root cause. You mentioned the 2026 study by Panda and colleagues.
Yes.
They looked at 400 IT professionals in India to figure out why this evaporation is happening.
And what they found flips traditional management theory totally on its head.
Really?
Yeah, the study revealed that retention isn't just about having access to a vast network of knowledge. The relationship between having a good network and actually wanting to stay at a company is heavily mediated by one invisible mechanism, psychological safety.
But not compensation.
Nope.
Not having the newest software stack.
Neither. It doesn't even matter what structural position an employee holds. I mean, on paper, someone could be centrally connected to 50 different departments.
Wow.
But what actually dictates their choice to stay or leave is their perceptual experience of those connections.
So how they feel about it.
Exactly. Do they feel valued? Do they feel connected? And crucially, do they feel safe when they interact with those 50 departments?
It's like building a massive state-of-the-art library with every book in the world, but hiring a librarian who screams at people if they mispronounce a title. Nobody is going to check out the books.
They won't.
It doesn't matter how incredible the collection is if the actual experience of accessing it is terrifying or humiliating.
What's fascinating here is how perfectly that aligns with Google's famous Project Aristotle.
Oh, I've heard of that.
Yeah, they spent years analyzing hundreds of their own teams to find the secret recipe for high performance.
What did they think it was going to be?
Well, they assumed it would be a mix of specific traits, putting a certain type of introverted engineer with a certain type of extroverted manager.
Right, like an alchemy of personalities.
Exactly. But the single most important factor they found was psychological safety.
Wow.
It's defined as the shared belief that the environment is safe for interpersonal risk-taking.
Interpersonal risk-taking. So like raising your hand in a room full of incredibly smart people and saying, I have no idea how to do this.
Yes.
Or I actually think this project we spent 3 months on is completely doomed.
Precisely that. Think about the emotional tax of the opposite environment.
Oh, it'd be exhausting.
It is. If you are terrified of looking incompetent, you hoard your knowledge. You hide your mistakes to protect your status.
Because if you don't, you get punished.
Right. The PANDA study proved that this safety is the invisible glue holding knowledge workers in place.
Yeah.
Because the emotional exhaustion of constantly playing defense will eventually just drive you to leave.
And when that glue dissolves, the costs are terrifying.
They really are.
Let's look at the real-world ripple effects, the hard costs of this knowledge drain. Because it isn't just an empty desk for a few weeks while HR finds a replacement.
No, not at all.
The source data shows that when an employee leaves, they take tacit knowledge with them that is worth 1.5 to 2 times their annual salary.
It's staggering.
But wait, why can't we just put that in a database? I mean, companies spend millions on internal wikis and onboarding manuals. Why isn't that enough to capture this tacit knowledge?
Because you are confusing explicit knowledge with tacit knowledge.
Oh, okay.
Explicit knowledge is what's written in the company handbook. It's the standard operating procedure.
Right. The manual.
Tacit knowledge is knowing exactly which engineer to call when that legacy server crashes because they built it 5 years ago.
Oh, I see.
It's knowing the unwritten preferences of your biggest client who, say, hates emails and only responds to texts before 8 in the morning.
Yeah.
It's muscle memory.
Ah, it's the stuff that falls through the cracks of a spreadsheet.
Exactly.
And the data backs up how valuable that is. I mean, highly connected teams bring innovations to market 33% faster than isolated teams.
33% is a huge edge.
It is. And in professional services, if your team has high turnover, client retention drops by 18 percentage points.
Wow.
Because the client isn't loyal to your corporate logo, they're loyal to the specific person they trust.
Right, the person they talk to every week.
Yeah. And from the individual's perspective, being in the top quartile of a strong knowledge network means you get promoted an average of 8 months faster.
So everyone wins when the network is healthy.
Everyone wins.
But the PANDA study identified a massive threat to that health.
What is it?
A moderating factor that actively dissolves the bond between safety and retention. They call it professional isolation.
Professional isolation.
Yes. And it is being heavily exacerbated by 3 colliding trends.
Yeah.
First, permanent hybrid and remote work. Second, the constant pressure of knowledge obsolescence.
Oh, yeah.
And third, shifting generational dynamics.
Let me translate some of that for a second. So people are sitting alone in their home offices, terrified that the coding language they mastered 3 years ago is already a dinosaur.
Yep.
And they're realizing they want more meaning out of their life than just a 10-year loyalty plaque on a desk.
Exactly.
But I do want to push back on the first point there.
Okay.
The whole promise of hybrid work was that it gave us better work-life integration.
Sure.
We ditch the commute. We can do laundry during a conference call. How is this massive convenience causing professional isolation that ruins retention?
If we connect this to the bigger picture, we have to separate geographic flexibility from relational support.
Mecca, what do you mean by that?
Well, isolation is a perceptual experience. You can be on video calls for 9 hours a day and still feel entirely professionally isolated.
Just totally alone in a grid of faces?
Right. When we moved to distributed work, we leaned heavily on digital tools for scheduled tasks. But those tools do not naturally replicate the spontaneous, informal mentoring that happens in a physical space.
The quick question over the cubicle wall, like, hey, can you look at this code for a second?
Exactly that. And regarding your point about work-life integration, the research actually shows that a highly supportive, collaborative knowledge-sharing culture creates much better work-life integration.
Really? How?
Because when you are isolated, you might spend 4 hours banging your head against a wall trying to solve a problem alone.
Yeah, I've been there.
And that causes immense stress that bleeds directly into your family life.
Oh, absolutely. You log off, but you're still stressed.
But in a highly connected, safe environment, you ping a colleague, they help you solve it in 10 minutes, and the frustration just evaporates. Collaborative problem solving reduces the emotional burden of work.
Being alone with a problem is exhausting.
It really is.
So if permanent remote and hybrid work aren't going away, how do we fix this? How do we engineer serendipity?
Let's look at how it used to be done in physical spaces because the underlying psychological principles still apply.
Okay.
There is a famous piece of research by Thomas Allen on physical workspaces. He found that employees who work within 25 feet of each other have 4 times as many interactions as those just 75 feet apart.
Just 50 feet makes a 4 times difference.
It does. It's wild. It's why physical environmental design matters so much. Pixar Animation Studios is the classic example in the literature.
Oh, I love this story.
Yeah, when they built their headquarters, their CEO, Ed Catmull, championed a design that put the main bathrooms, the mailboxes, and the primary cafe right in the center of the building.
He forced everyone to walk to the middle.
To force animators, software engineers, and executives to just bump into each other.
Right.
That spontaneous cross-pollination of ideas is where the magic happens. You learn what the other departments are actually struggling with.
Here's where it gets really interesting. Pixar's building sounds amazing, but let's make this practical.
Okay.
If I am listening to this and I manage a small remote team, or even if I'm at a huge company, but my team is scattered across 3 different time zones,
Right.
I don't have the budget or the ability to build a central bathroom.
No, you don't.
How do you engineer that serendipity for a remote team without it just feeling like forced, awkward, corporate fun? You know, the mandatory virtual escape room that everyone secretly hates.
Oh, we all hate the virtual escape room. It requires deep intentionality and understanding the mechanics of human connection. The source material highlights GitLab as a fascinating case study here.
Okay, what did they do?
They are a fully remote company with 2,000 employees across 65 countries.
Wow.
They don't have a central cafe. Instead, they wrote a comprehensive remote playbook relying on structured informality.
Structured informality.
Yeah. They use algorithms to randomly pair employees for virtual coffee chats, where the only rule is you cannot talk about work.
Wait, really? You can't talk about work.
You can't. And they have mandatory show and tell sessions where you share work wins, sure, but also your personal hobbies.
Mandatory informality. It sounds like an oxymoron.
It does.
Why does forcing people to chat about their weekend actually help retention?
Because humanizing a coworker reduces the interpersonal friction when you have to ask them a dumb question later.
Oh.
If I know you struggle with baking sourdough bread, I feel much less intimidated coming to you when I break a line of code.
That makes total sense.
By building these connection points into the very fabric of the job, GitLab normalizes human interaction over digital walls, and their voluntary turnover rate sits about 30% below the tech industry average.
That is massive. You're lowering the stakes of vulnerability.
We see this at scale, too. Tata Consultancy Services, or TCS, has over 600,000 workers globally.
600,000.
Huge. They built an internal platform called Gnome. It essentially blends a corporate social network with a deep knowledge repository.
Like an internal Facebook meets Wikipedia.
Exactly. It allows employees to organically find experts, ask questions, and build communities across borders. But it isn't just a dry Wikipedia page, it's social.
Right.
The result is that employees who actively use it have a 12% higher retention rate.
12% is massive at a scale of 600,000 people.
It's game-changing.
But I look at tools like Gnome or GitLab's coffee chats, and I realize those are just the delivery mechanisms.
Yes.
You can buy the best internal platform in the world, but if your leadership is toxic, nobody will use it.
Absolutely true.
If my boss yells at me for asking a question, I'm not going to use the fancy social wiki to ask another one. We have to talk about rewiring the actual culture.
That is the ultimate hurdle. You cannot buy psychological safety off a vendor's shelf. Leaders have to model it.
Right.
The text points to Microsoft's massive turnaround under CEO Satya Nadella. He intentionally shifted the entire company culture from a know-it-all environment,
Which sounds awful.
which is inherently competitive, fear-based, and hoarding. He shifted it to a learn-it-all culture.
A learn-it-all culture.
Yeah. He modeled curiosity. He publicly talked about his own mistakes.
It completely changes the weather in the room when the CEO admits they messed up.
It really does.
But Satya Nadella is just one guy. How does that mindset trickle down to middle management? Who are the ones actually enforcing the culture day to day for the average worker?
That is where Unilever's approach comes in. They recognize the gap between executive vision and middle management reality.
Okay.
So they ran an inclusive leadership training program for 15,000 managers.
Wow.
It wasn't just about vague soft skills, it was incredibly tactical.
Like what? What did they teach them?
Like, how do you ensure quiet voices get heard on a conference call? How do you physically and verbally respond when someone brings you bad news?
Oh, that's huge.
Yeah.
Because if you flinch or get angry, they never tell you again.
Exactly. Because when leaders react to bad news with curiosity instead of punishment, they prove the environment is safe. And this significantly reduced turnover, especially for underrepresented groups.
But leadership modeling has to be backed up by systemic structural shifts, doesn't it?
What do you mean?
Well, if your boss tells you it's okay to fail, but the HR department fires you during your annual review for failing, the culture is still broken.
Oh, 100%. This raises an important question. How do companies decouple learning from evaluation?
Right.
Because if every new skill you try to learn is graded and tied to your bonus, you will never take a risk.
The text gave such great examples of this. Like Adobe, they completely threw out the annual performance review.
Just tossed it.
Replaced it with continuous low-stakes check-ins. That removes the terrifying evaluative pressure where you feel like one wrong sentence will cost you your livelihood.
Right.
But the one that really caught me off guard was Intuit. They host failure parties.
Failure parties.
Wait, failure parties.
Yeah.
Like they are actively throwing parties for projects that cost the company money.
Yeah.
How does that not just encourage laziness or bad work?
Because of the psychological mechanism at play, they aren't celebrating incompetence, they're celebrating the acquisition of tacit knowledge.
Okay.
When a smart team tries an innovative experiment and it fails, they learn exactly what doesn't work.
Right, they find the dead end.
If you punish them, they hide that knowledge, and another team will make the exact same expensive mistake next year.
Because nobody warned them.
Exactly. By throwing a party, you remove the fear of negative evaluation and turn the loss into an explicit gain of shared knowledge. They are structurally rewarding the risk-taking.
It's like cultural compound interest.
That's a great phrase.
You make these small systemic tweaks, and over time, the psychology of the workforce completely transforms.
Yeah.
Look at Infosys. They built a platform called iEngage.
Mm-hmm.
It uses AI to locate experts. But crucially, it gamifies knowledge sharing. Employees get points for answering questions.
And why does gamification work? It creates a low-stakes sandbox.
Right.
It shifts the motivation from, I have to do this for my review, to, I am participating in a community system. It lowers the stakes of vulnerability.
And it saved them 2 million hours of wasted time.
Wow.
2 million hours.
That's incredible.
But it only worked because they aligned their performance metrics to actually reward the people who were sharing knowledge rather than rewarding the people who hoarded it to look indispensable.
If a company wants to achieve this, they have to move away from the traditional top-down hierarchy where the manager is entirely responsible for the team's culture.
Yeah.
The most sustainable organizations are moving toward distributed leadership.
What does that look like in practice?
They realize that psychological safety can't just be the manager's job. It has to be peer-to-peer. So they institute structural norms like pre-mortems.
Oh, a pre-mortem, like a post-mortem, but before the project even starts.
Precisely. You gather the team before you launch the product and say, imagine it is 6 months from now and this project has been an absolute disaster. Why did it fail?
That is brilliant. It shifts the burden of criticism from the individual to the structure.
Exactly.
You aren't being a negative jerk or a pessimist. You are just fulfilling the prompt.
Right. It gamifies skepticism and makes it perfectly safe to voice fears.
Yeah.
And it normalizes the fact that nobody has all the answers. Shopify does this brilliantly with their continuous learning systems.
Okay.
They have a program called Dev Degree where employees earn computer science degrees while working. They have mandatory learning days.
Wow.
They are constantly signaling to their workforce, we expect you to have knowledge gaps. We expect you to be learning.
That is such a powerful message.
It is. And by normalizing those gaps, they boosted their retention by 21%. The whole team owns the safety of the environment.
So what does this all mean? We've covered the billion-dollar costs, the panda study, screaming librarians, and failure parties.
We covered a lot.
If you are the learner listening to this deep dive right now, the grand takeaway is profound. Retention is no longer just a transactional game of salary and benefits.
It really isn't.
It's an emotional and relational infrastructure challenge. The knowledge your company needs isn't just sitting in a database. It is locked inside the minds of people who are deciding every single day whether they feel safe enough to share it.
Yep.
If you want to keep your best talent, you have to build an environment where the phrase, "I don't know," isn't a career-ending admission, but the start of a collaboration. Human connection has to be treated as a hard, strategic asset.
Which leaves us with a compelling thought to consider as we look to the future.
Let's hear it.
We are watching technological disruption and artificial intelligence rapidly take over the transactional aspects of knowing things and cataloging data.
For sure.
The machines will soon hold all the explicit knowledge. When that happens, will our deeply human ability to foster emotional connection, to combat isolation, and to build these psychologically safe relational networks become the only true competitive advantage an organization has left?